Right, hello and welcome to another edition of the Villa on Tour podcast. Yes, we are sort of sat in a car park in the middle of Orlando. This is very impromptu, this is a very odd location, but look, we've got to Orlando today. Obviously, we've flown over from Philadelphia, was at the game yesterday. We wanted to do a podcast, we wanted to chat about our experiences so far because a lot has happened in a very short space of time. Just before we crack on with this podcast, I do want to give a nice big shout out to Luke. Obviously, you can see me and Simon both sporting some Luke gear. You won't get 20% off using the code MAX20 on this because it's the Nathan Dorr range, but anything else over at Luke, please do go and use the code MAX20 for a nice big 20% off. Link in the description. Joined by Simon. How are you, mate? Feeling all good?
Good, yeah. Feeling the Orlando heat, to be honest with you.
It's very, very hot. I think it's about 7 o'clock at night now. What are we talking? 30 plus, isn't it?
30, yeah, it's about 30 degrees, definitely. Yeah, it feels very, very warm.
People warned us in Philadelphia about the sort of mugginess of Orlando, and it's just ridiculous. Obviously, they get a load of storms down at this part of the world. Obviously, we're right in the heart of Florida at the moment, so a lot is going on. We're walking around Universal tomorrow, so I hope the weather sort of, as long as it doesn't rain, I'm not too fussed. I think you can sort of get away with the heat, because everywhere around here is like aircon as well. Like if it was like this in the UK, obviously we know it's pretty horrendous, but yeah, aircon is absolutely fantastic. It's saving us at the moment. Let's chat about how we're feeling at the moment then, because obviously we flew in on Saturday. Literally we've been in the US for less than 48 hours. It's pretty much flown by. Obviously we flew into New York, got to Philadelphia on Saturday night. I was a big fan of Philadelphia. I think we got there in the night time and you sort of couldn't tell what Philadelphia was like at night, but as soon as we sort of explored a little bit on the Sunday, I really, really liked Philadelphia.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, you look, we arrived at night. We couldn't see a lot, could we? And we were tired from all the travelling and stuff that we'd done in the day. And so, yeah, I feel first night you're always a little bit disorientated, aren't you? But then, obviously, yesterday morning we went out and did a bit of sightseeing, didn't we? We went to see some of the sites of Philadelphia, some of the famous sites, you know, Liberty Bell, all about American independence, and that was really good. We had a walk down by the river, didn't we? Had a look what was going on down there. Went to the Rocky Steps, and then obviously onto meeting with the Villa fans in the afternoon, and then the game. So it was a bit of a mixed day, but yesterday it was definitely the day of two halves, really, wasn't it? But yeah, overall, yeah, Philadelphia was really, really nice. I mean, it's been a bit of a whirlwind so far because we've had so much travelling to do, and we've packed a lot into the trip already so far, and as you say, we've only been here for sort of 48 hours, which feels kind of crazy. It feels like we've been here probably a lot longer, really, in terms of all the stuff we've done.
Don't say you never learn anything on this channel. If you haven't already checked out the video, obviously the match day vlog from Philadelphia, go and do that. Obviously, like Si said, we were sort of exploring the city in the morning. There's so much history in Philadelphia. Like obviously, that's where the Declaration of Independence was signed for the USA, like in the 1700s. Just all the buildings there. It's a really, really like pretty place. Like the architecture is really, really good. But I thought quite interesting was the taxi driver on the way back from the game was saying the crime was quite high in Philadelphia. What was it, like 50% more than like the national average? Yeah. So a couple of people have said, like, obviously it's the same with every city, isn't it? Obviously you got to be careful. You got to go to the right areas. I don't think our hotel was necessarily in the nice location, but look, you get that in every city. From my sort of perspective, Philadelphia was really, really nice. We'll talk about the pub then. I was really excited about going to the pub in the first time because I know loads of people, when we did the preview talking about our trip obviously back in England, we were sort of saying like we were looking forward to it, and loads of American like based Villa fans commented on that video saying can't wait to see you in Philadelphia, etc, etc. We met so many people in that pub, so many people coming up to us, and I was really just interested to like hear their stories. Like a lot of them were English, Irish, that sort of moved over, but there's also a load of Americans that you're sort of thinking, why do you support Aston Villa? Because it's not the conventional support Man United, Arsenal, they were the best team when you were growing up sort of thing. So it's just interesting to sort of meet people and hear their stories, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, and I think I said it on Twitter that you don't realise how big a following that we've actually got. Like around the world, there was, like, as you said, there were so many conversations with so many people yesterday, and I mean, it was relentless, wasn't it? People coming up to talk to us, which was so nice. It was really good, and all afternoon just hearing all these stories about people who might have been born in Birmingham but then moved over to the States when they were quite young, or Canada. There was one chap from Canada, wasn't there?
It was quite funny because he said he was born in Bromsgrove, which is like 10 minutes from me, and then like he moved to a part of the world. It's like you've got Niagara Falls that way, Toronto that way. It's just mad the amount of people that have moved over. It's fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah, but that pub was just great. It was proper like a type of like craft beer, like brewery kind of, you know, sort of pub, and we filled it out, didn't we? All Villa fans, we filled it out, and we had a really good afternoon, didn't we?
We did. I think we got there at about 11 a.m. We were sort of saying, we'll get there at like 12 or 1 because our body clocks are all over the place. We sort of woke up at 5:30, didn't we? And we're already walking around Philadelphia at like 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning. So we'd done all the sort of exploring that we wanted to do. We'd seen all the sites that we wanted to see. So we got to this pub around midday, and it started to get busier and busier. People were putting their flags up, which just added to the atmosphere. The atmosphere obviously got a little bit rowdy when everyone had a drink. It was really good. And then around 4 o'clock, I think we made our way to the stadium, didn't we? Which was about 15-20 minutes away. Philadelphia's quite big as a city, but the stadium's like in the far south, so it took a little bit of a while to get there. But the stadium, it was huge. It's like there's so many like car parks around it. It's just not, you think of like English stadiums, it's like you've got houses like 10 metres behind the stadium. America, they don't do that. They've got parking lots, as they call it, all around it, and they've got a baseball stadium there, an NFL stadium there, which are both absolutely massive. The best word to probably describe it is like a complex. It was huge, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, it was great, but yeah, that complex all around the ground was huge, and it's probably like NFL ground, isn't it? It's absolutely massive.
Walking into that stadium, I mean, we talked about it in the American preview we did before we came out here. Like, the stadiums were incredible. I think the one we're going to in Orlando in a couple of days is more football stadium-y, but this one, NFL, I'd never been to an NFL stadium in my life. Obviously, never been to the United States in my life. Kind of took me aback. It was huge. It was like, it wasn't conventional 4 stands. There was bits missing. It was just absolutely monstrous. And when we got in there, I think Fulham and Brentford were still playing, weren't they? I think they had like 5 minutes to go because they were obviously playing on the same pitch, or the Premier League Summer Series. They were still playing in that. But just the stadium, there was like the designated Villa section, weren't we? Paddy, the guy we were with, bless him, he was in the absolute sky right at the back of the opposite end. But we were in the designated Villa section. So many Villa fans in there. Obviously, we recognised people that we'd seen in the pub earlier on in the day, but being in that Villa section, felt at home in there, didn't we?
Oh, we did, yeah. Right at the front of it, right in the thick of the action. Yeah, row 3, right in the thick of the action with all the Villa fans. Yeah, it just felt like being at home, really, didn't it? It was really, really good.
What do you reckon about the game then? We'll talk about it a little bit. I mean, I haven't even watched the highlights back, but it started quite frantic. We started really well, didn't we? Watkins looked lively, Buendia was lively. It was quite a strong team. Obviously, we didn't see that at Walsall. Obviously, Martinez, McGinn, all the international lads came back as well. We were expecting a good game. Newcastle, obviously, very, very strong side. But we started fast. Didn't quite pan out that way, but it was nice to see us start fast, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, and I think for a pre-season friendly, it was a really good game. They're usually quite sort of drab, slow affairs, aren't they? But I mean, it was end to end. It wasn't the best game from a defensive point of view. I think both sides.
I think Ming said that, didn't he, in his interview?
I think both sides were left wanting in terms of like defence, especially. Yeah. Obviously, there was no VAR, was there? And so we were caught a few times on that sort of high line that we play. But I mean, overall, yeah, it was a really fast start. So the attacking play was brilliant from the likes of Buendia, Ollie Watkins, John McGinn was really heavily involved, and even Philogene was very good on that.
What do you reckon about that? Because I saw a lot of praise for him on Twitter. Look, I thought he was good. I didn't think he was like, took my breath away, like standout. I thought he was good, don't get me wrong, but it's encouraging, isn't it? 100%.
It is. I think he looks better from his loan spell at Cardiff, without a doubt. I think the only thing I'd say is that let's not get too far ahead of ourselves, because he's 21, so you should be expecting that kind of thing now. But it's pre-season, and as I just said, the defences weren't on top. I felt like he had a lot of room, he had a lot of space last night.
It was a hot night as well, so the defences were going to be.
And so I'll just err on the side of caution a little bit. But to be fair to him, he played well. The goals were really well taken. Disappointing how we let him back into the game, wasn't it? And that was purely from some poor defending.
Yeah, a couple of lacks of concentration.
Yeah, I mean, we got done on the high line sort of thing for the first one. I don't know whether it was offside or not. It looked offside, but I'm not sure whether it was. And then obviously the second one, Kamara gave the ball away, didn't they? And then obviously we conceded. And then the second half again, it wasn't great from Carlos and Olsen Paris. And then, it's a goal. But do you know what? Overall, it was good, and I think some of the young lads came on in the second half. The likes of Amari Kellyman.
Kellyman, talk about him. He was brilliant, wasn't he? He looks. What is he? 17.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's got to fill out. Obviously, that's natural. But just looking at him, like, he looks lively. He looks like he can mix it with these established players. He's a big lad. He's very, very physically imposing from a height point of view. So he nearly scored as well, didn't he? I think he did everything right, and then he just didn't quite have the finish. He couldn't quite get it over the line. But really, really encouraging with him. 100%. I think you watch a lot of the under-21s, don't you? And he's sort of, he's still, like I said, 17, and he stands out there, so very encouraging.
Yeah, and before the one that he should have scored, he hit the post as well, which obviously Buendia scored off the rebound from. So yeah, really, I just think really encouraging. I think there was some really good performances out there. There was a few rusty players as well. I thought Carlos looked rusty, and I know he's had a very long injury layoff sort of thing, but he clearly needs minutes, and that might be a question. You think, how's he going to get the minutes with the players who are in front of him? But that's maybe a conversation for another day, I suppose. But there's a few rusty players, Carlos being one. I thought Cash he started well, but I don't think he had a particularly great game. Then Kamara looked a bit rusty for me in the middle. But then it was good to see the likes of Torres and good to see the likes of Tielemans come on
that was nice.
and make their sort of first appearances for Villa. So look, it was a fitness run out. It was only the second pre-season friendly of the summer, so you can't take too much away from it, can you? And that's how it is. As the weeks progress and as the games sort of come thick and fast, we'll probably start to learn a little bit more about how Villa are going to look come the start of the season. So it was encouraging that. I think attacking wise, I think for that first half, Newcastle struggled to live with us really, and so that is really, really encouraging. But it was a good watch. Like, I think the one thing I didn't want to come here really and see, Villa play out a really boring 0-0 draw or like a 1-1 draw, because that happens in friendlies quite
typical
a lot.
pre-season.
We've seen it before ourselves. Think about the game we went to against Chelsea back in December in Abu Dhabi, and it was a great trip. But that game was
the low point normally.
The game was a very, very low point. I know we won, but I don't remember anything about it really. But yeah, so no, it was good, and I'm glad we saw a few goals. Definitely.
Yeah, it was a good spectacle, wasn't it? I think the previous couple of games in the Premier League Summer Series, I think Chelsea and Brighton, that was 4-3. Brentford Fulham, that was literally the game before us, was 3-2. So a lot of goals. So long may that continue. Obviously, we've got Fulham in Orlando on Wednesday night. It's currently Monday night as we're recording this, so we've got a couple of days in Orlando. What did you make of the atmosphere at the game in Philadelphia? I thought it was decent. Obviously, the American fans there, the ones that haven't seen Villa potentially obviously rarely see Villa, haven't ever been to Villa Park, so to see Villa in the flesh for them must have been amazing. I thought the atmosphere was really good. Obviously, they were bang up for it, high-fiving when we scored. It was good, wasn't it? I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was excellent. It was really good. There was a big crowd there. There was over 40,000 people there, which is a very good turnout for a pre-season friendly, isn't it? And yeah, I thought the noise that the fans made was great, and the passion that they showed was great as well. And so, yeah, fair play to the US Villains. It's not, it's a big deal for them, isn't it? I mean, for me and you, and for
take it for granted.
A lot of the people we know, we do take it for granted a little bit. We go home and away every week. We're able to, and we're privileged to do that. I know we put the hard yards in, I suppose, but we are privileged to do that. We're able to go home and away every week, and here we are out in America following Villa, and so we're in a really privileged position. I understand that. But for these guys, this is some of them never seen the Villa play, or they've only seen Villa play once or twice out in America. I mean, we spoke to a couple of people yesterday who said that they've never been to Villa Park and it's on their bucket list, and so yes, they must have meant the world to them really. And so yeah, fair play. I thought the atmosphere overall was really good.
It sort of puts it into perspective for people like us who sort of do take it for granted. Again, shout out to the people who came up to us yesterday, because they sort of said to me like how important we are as fans, and that sort of bring the atmosphere across the world. Like every video that I put out, there's comments from people all over, far and wide, places that you wouldn't expect Villa fans to even be. Yes, America, football is very big over here, it's only getting bigger, but again, in the comments section, you get fans from all over the place that you wouldn't expect. And people coming up to me yesterday sort of saying how important my videos are to sort of bring in the Villa sort of feel and culture to them over here. I love that, and it's sort of mind-blowing for me, because I just do it for fun. Like, yeah, a benefit of doing Villa on tour is people all over the world, Villa fans all over the world, get to watch it. For me, it's just a bit of fun. Like, I go to the games anyway, I just like recording them. So for people to come up to us yesterday and tell us like how important we are in sort of their Villa experience, like, it sounds big-headed, but that's what they were saying, and it's brilliant to hear, and I just really appreciated that. So anyone that came up to us the other day in Philadelphia, thank you so much, because it's really nice for us, isn't it?
No, it's really nice. People coming up to us buying drinks, people coming up to us saying really nice things, and talking to us personally as well. It was just it was just really nice. And so like you said, a massive thank you to anybody who came up to us and said some kind words yesterday. It was really, really nice.
So that was Sunday. Had a brilliant day. Was up until 2 a.m. editing, body clocks all over the place, but it was so worth it. The reception on the videos has been really good, so thank you so much for that. Let's talk about today then, because it was a little bit more of a mess. We were meant to have a flight so early. I think it was 10 to 8. We had a scheduled flight from Philadelphia to Orlando. That didn't quite go to plan. I think we found out last night that it was delayed till about 10:30. Got to the airport about 8:30 this morning. It was delayed again, so like 11:30. And then you're thinking, right, what more can go wrong? But then the plane, we were sat on the runway for an hour. I think I was asleep for the whole time, luckily, but it was just a faff. And then, bloody hell, the flight experience. You say it was the worst flight you've ever been on?
It really was. It was just chaotic, wasn't it? Everything was going on. Like, the flight attendants were too loud, and it all just felt too messy. And we ended up in Orlando, and then again, we had the longest taxi in the world to the gate, and then when we finally got to the gate, there was something wrong with the stairs or something, so they had to then take us to another gate, and then when we got to that gate, there was the bloke who was operating the stairs hadn't arrived or something. So
everything that could have gone wrong did go wrong.
Yeah, so it ended up being a ridiculously long sort of journey when it really shouldn't have been.
You missed out the screams on the plane.
Oh,
so we were about 20 minutes away from landing in Orlando, and the plane dropped a little bit. Like, it wasn't pleasant. Like, you know, I'm not the biggest fan of flying, but I wouldn't scream. Like, it dropped a little bit. You know what planes do. People were screaming like we were hurtling at the floor. I was like, come on. It's not really worth that, is it? And even the flight attendant came on, and in a very typical American way, you wouldn't get this on Ryanair. They're like, ladies and gentlemen, it's okay. Please calm down. Stop screaming. It was so bizarre. That was really weird. At that point, I was like, I need to get to this hotel now. Like, I'm done.
It felt like we were preparing for a crash landing, didn't it? That's what it felt like. That's what it felt like. But yeah, so the flight experience was a bit of a mess, wasn't it? But we eventually got here to Orlando, didn't we?
We also had to say happy birthday to people on the plane. Like, we were taxiing around, and they come on the tannoy and say, ladies and gentlemen, we need to wish happy birthday to 3 people. Say happy birthday after 3. 1, 2, 3. And everyone says happy birthday. It was an experience. But that is not where the bad day ended.
No.
We got a taxi to this hotel that we'd booked Days Inn, which we'd stayed in Philadelphia. It's the same brand. We got to this place, mate, and you said to me, like, we ain't staying here.
Oh, yeah. You know, when you just pick up a really bad vibe from like a hotel or from anything. I walked in and it was just that vibe. It was like, firstly, it didn't smell great. Secondly, it looked like a cross between like a typical like American motel, and then kind of if you're old enough to know, like sort of in the UK, like the Pontins camps from like the 70s and the 80s, and but like really like bad, like never been done up or anything like that. It looked like that, and so we made our way to the room, didn't we? And it was like the windows looked like they were about to cave in, and
everything looked like it had been on fire as well. The fridge had burn stains on it, the beds did. And I don't want to sound snobby, like, we're not snobs. Like, genuinely, I wish I got some content of it. It was really bad.
Yeah, the door wouldn't shut, the safe wouldn't work. Everyone could just see into your room. It was really, really bad.
There was a swimming pool, by the way, but I don't think there was any chance that we were going to try that out. So we get straight on booking.com, and we booked a Holiday Inn, which we're literally sat outside the front of. I'll show you what our perspective looks like at the moment. We're literally filming in a car park. Like I said, Holiday Inn, which is where we're staying, is just over there. So luckily our room that we've got now, it's a lot nicer, isn't it, mate? We're very lucky because we're staying here for 3 days. Like, if we were staying for one night, I think we could sort of like get away with it. Because we're staying in Orlando for like 3 nights, we want to be somewhere where we feel comfortable.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing with Orlando as well. We booked the original hotel because of its proximity to the football stadium. But in Orlando, it's a bit weird. There's no there's no actual central part of Orlando. It's so spread out, and so there was literally nothing around the hotel. Like, you're having to walk for miles or get a taxi to even go to a shop. But we've come here, and we're on International Drive now, so where all the theme parks are and all the restaurants and all the bars and stuff. And it hasn't worked out too pricey for us either. It's worked out all right for us for these 3 nights, and so we feel a lot better now, don't we?
Yeah, the taxi driver on the way here said that the hotel he picked us up from, obviously the previous hotel, was known for drugs. So that's where we'll leave talking about that hotel. It was very bizarre, but very fortunate to be where we are now. Very lucky. We're about to go and get some food after this. So that's where we are at the moment. Like I said, it doesn't feel like we've been in the USA for less than 48 hours. Like, it's mad. It feels like we've been here for a long time, just because of probably the amount of travelling. Obviously, we're at Universal tomorrow. That should be a good day. I know you're very excited for that. And then it's match. Oh, I am as well. I don't want to sound like that. I am as well. Like, everyone says good things, so I'm looking forward to it. It should be good. That'll be a very long day. And then obviously match day on Wednesday as well, 7 p.m. at the Orlando Stadium, which looks very, very good. So I'm buzzing, mate. Again, I just want to say thank you so much for the support, tuning into all the videos. Obviously, this is a podcast which will go out on YouTube as well as the audio-only podcast as well. So if you do like audio-only, you listen to it in the car or whatever, check out Villa on Tour podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well, and wherever else you get your podcasts from. Without further ado, mate, that's where we are. We're all up to date, aren't we? So
we are.
We'll have a good day tomorrow, and we'll see you on match day on Wednesday. Up the Villa.